Certainly, this is a very important topic, and I appreciate the witnesses for being here. I do have some questions for Ms. Van Geyn, who I think gave an excellent set of opening remarks. And Ms. Van Geyn, I'd like to speak with you in particular about Justin Trudeau's censorship agenda, which has been implemented by the Liberal Party, certainly with help from the NDP. And when we talk about the censorship agenda, we're talking about primarily two pieces of legislation, Bill C-11 and C-18. Ms. Van Geyn, I'm sure you're familiar with them, but just for the sake of being on the same page, Bill C-11, of course, refers to the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and the federal bureaucracy gaining more control over what Canadians can access on streaming platforms online. Bill C-18, of course, refers to Justin Trudeau and the federal bureaucracy having more control over the news that Canadians can see, which is limited access that Canadians have to news on platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So I'd like to start with just asking Ms. Van Geyn, do you share the concerns of many Canadians who are worried about Justin Trudeau's censorship agenda and Bill C-11 and C-18?
I would add to that list Bill C-63, which has the potential to be one of the most censorious pieces of legislation that I've seen in a really long time. C-63, the Online Harms Act, would increase penalties for criminalized speech and hate-motivated crimes to life in prison, which part of the concern around that is using these heightened penalties to overcharge criminal defendants and create pressure for plea deals for lower level offenses when there is an argument that the Crown might make that there is a hate element. Even if it's not present, it can be charged, and this overcharging leads to pressure to plead out. Another concern we have about C-63 is that it would allow for someone who fears a future hate crime speech, that they can request a judge to put conditions on the would-be speaker, things like an ankle monitor or even imprisonment. And this is for future speech that has not yet taken place. This is incredibly chilling. C-63 would also create a civil mechanism for people to complain about speech to the Human Rights Commission. It's a return of Section 13 of the Canada Human Rights Act, which was rightly repealed for dragging before the Commission journalists and members of the clergy. There is no cost to bringing a complaint, but there's great cost to the complained about. And we have seen human rights tribunals bring claims, bring before them comedians. That's in a Quebec context. So giving this power to these commissions will chill expression. I did not have time in my 5 minutes to mention C-63, and I understand that there is a separate committee hearing that will address that, but I wanted to put on the record our serious concern about that. With respect to the Online News Act and the Online Streaming Act, while perhaps not censorship in the most classic form, I do share the concerns of millions of Canadians who have lost access to news as a result of the Online News Act. I share the concerns of a lot of academics and Canadian content creators about the regulation of user-generated content on social media platforms like YouTube. I'm a YouTube creator myself. I have one of the largest, I think probably the largest YouTube channel about Canadian constitutional law, perhaps niche.
If I could just ask
and it will censor that.
Ms. Van Geyn, if I could just ask a follow-up to that, because the Trudeau Liberals very much like to misrepresent their censorship agenda as being solely focused on big corporations. But as you noted, it does include...
Mr. Chair, well, I do want to hear Mr. Jivani's question. He's making an assertion as to what our intention is, which I think is you have ruled before.
Well, you didn't let me finish the question, so you're getting ahead of yourself.
Didn't even need to get there.
I know you're an eager guy. I know you're an eager guy. So if I could just ask the question to Ms. Van Geyn, you mentioned that user-generated content is included in Justin Trudeau's censorship agenda, which law professor Michael Geist has detailed in a series of blogs explaining that it is not just a matter of focusing on corporations. What is the importance of this censorship agenda, including user-generated content?
A short answer of 20 seconds, please.
The effect is that it puts is the government putting its thumb on the scale of what content Canadians see, and that in itself is inherently censorious.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Van Geyn.